Welcome everyone to your ultimate introduction into Albaz Strike. For those unfamiliar, Albaz and its related cards first debuted in Rise of the Duelist, featuring Fallen of Albaz and the Dogmatica theme. Recent Albaz-related cards comprise primarily of dark monsters which focus on summoning powerful fusion monsters that specifically list Fallen of Albaz as fusion material. The entire gimmick of the deck incorporates the Albaz storyline involving Dogmatica, Tri-Brigade, Spring-Ins, Despia, Swordsoul, and Therions, where Fallen of Albaz uses his powers to create new dragon forms for himself to fight against the enemies that threaten his world. With the recent full reveal of the Albaz Strike structure deck, now is the perfect time to become acquainted with the Fallen. Does his name refer to a past buried in darkness, or to a bright future? Let's find out. We begin with the titular card of the deck, Fallen of Albaz, a level 4 dragon who, by discarding a card on normal or special summon, can fusion summon using monsters on either side of the field. When using Albaz's effect, however, you can't use any of your other monsters, which made this card unplayable since its release. With Albaz Strike, though, more support cards were introduced to propel this theme into a competitive deck. The first of those new cards is Spring-In's Kit, a level 4 beast who, on normal or special summon, can add a branded spell or trap that's in your deck, your graveyard, or banished to your hand. Then you place a card from your hand to the bottom of the deck, similar to Kit's Tri-Brigade form. Furthermore, if you have a fusion monster that has Fallen of Albaz listed as material on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon it. While an objectively worse Stratos than its Thespian counterpart, Kit has its place in the deck and its variants with some of the fusion monsters played. Its clause of special summon itself isn't extremely relevant, but the ability to recur your branded spells and traps that are in your graveyard or banished provides some nice utility for low resource game states, especially after interrupting the opponent. Speaking of interruption, we have Tri-Brigade Mercurior, a level 4 winged beast which, while you control a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material, sends itself from the hand or field to negate a monster effect the opponent activates. It also searches a Fallen of Albaz or monster that lists it in its text if banished. While the banishing effect doesn't come up in a pure Albaz deck, it does combo with a Tri-Brigade counterpart and crewmates. In pure Albaz, however, Mercurior is searchable and provides an additional layer of interaction, either acting as an anti-Nibiru counter or straight interruption. While not used in many variants beyond those, Mercurior is definitely potent with only one copy. Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon is the super boss of Albaz Strike. As a soft once per turn quick effect, you can foolish any fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material as cost to banish a monster on the field. After its effect resolves properly, that copy of Mirror Jade on the field can't activate that effect again during the following turn. There are a few ways to get around such restriction, but that will be covered shortly. If it was fusion summoned and leaves the field because of an opponent's card, whether it be destroyed by battle, destruction, banished face up, or even tributed, Mirror Jade's effect activates, which destroys all monsters the opponent controls during the end phase. Unless your opponent negates that effect, its resolution in the end phase doesn't activate, so either your opponent has to win that turn or set up some form of protection to prevent an enormous loss in advantage. With such powerful effects, it's no wonder you can only control one Mirror Jade. Branded Retribution is a counter trap stating, when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, return to the extra deck one face-up fusion monster you control or two fusion monsters in your graveyard that mention Fallen of Albaz as material, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, destroy that card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one branded spell or trap in your graveyard, accept Branded Retribution, add it to your hand. You can only use one Branded Retribution effect per turn, and only once that turn. This card acts as an in-theme solemn warning, with the ability to negate summons that do not start a chain, such as Xyz summoning and Synchro summoning. You can also negate cards like Polymerization, Branded Fusion, and Branded in Red. When you add a card like Wandering Griffin Rider or Water Enchantress of the Temple, you can discard Branded Retribution as a free discard. Then, you can add your Branded Fusion back from your graveyard to your hand by banishing Branded Retribution from your graveyard. Usually, you'll use Branded Retribution's negate effect during your opponent's turn, and then you can use the recursion effect during your turn. Next to appear is Albion the Shrouded Dragon, Albaz's upgraded dragon form. If it's in the hand or graveyard, you can foolish a branded spell or trap from the hand or send one from the hand to the graveyard to either Special Summon or Upstart Goblin. This card is usually best if you play Branded and High Spirits for Recursion, or use as a second material for Lubellion. It's also Fallen of Albaz while in the graveyard, which can set up strong plays with Branded in White and Albion the Branded Dragon. That leads us to the next card. Albion the Branded Dragon is the first powerful Albaz fusion with a Miracle Fusion effect. During the end phase, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add to your hand or set a branded spell or trap from your deck. This effect, which can be used in combination with Mirror Jade, Super Polymerization, or Regular Polymerization, grants access to the 3 strongest spells and traps in the deck in the form of Branded Fusion, Branded in Red, and the new Branded Exile. Albion is a fantastic way to set up your follow-up cards during your opponent's turn to summon a second Mirror Jade turn 3 for the OTK potential. Your best method of summoning Mirror Jade turn 1 is through the effect of Lubellion the Searing Dragon. As Alubear's second dragon form, Lubellion's power nearly matches that of Albaz. On Fusion Summon, you can discard a card to Fusion Summon a level 8 or higher fusion by shuffling materials into the deck from the field, the graveyard, or banished, but for the rest of the turn, that card can't attack and you're locked into only summoning fusion monsters. Lubellion isn't limited to summoning Mirror Jade, and you can summon any of your non-Albaz fusions. This incredibly strong effect recycles the cards you banish off of Branded Dragon's effect back in the deck to use again with Branded Fusion, creating a nearly infinite resource loop. Branded Fusion is a Shaddoll fusion that locks you into fusioning summoning the turn it's activated. While you can only summon Albaz fusions with Branded Fusion, your Albaz fusions can summon generic fusions, effectively making Branded Fusion summon most level 8 and higher monsters in the game. This is a custom card for the deck, and the one to single-handedly make Albaz playable. Without it, there's very little reason to play the deck. It starts every single play and is searchable by Alubear, Kit, and Branded Dragon. Branded in Red is the quick play spell for the Fallen of Albaz and Despia themes. You can target a Despia monster or Fallen of Albaz in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then you can apply the following effect. Fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field, but it cannot attack directly this turn. You can only activate 1 Branded in Red per return. You can use this card to summon your Guardian Chimera or generic level 8 fusion monsters such as Destroyer, Phoenix, Enforcer. Some of the other support cards include Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous, Branded Opening, and Guardian Chimera. Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous has been using the Sword Soul strategy for months at this point. However, in Fallen of Albaz, it can summon either Fallen of Albaz from the deck or a Sword Soul monster, but the relevant effect is, during the end phase, if a fusion monster was set to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card from your graveyard to the hand. This acts as a nice little resource loop, allowing you to discard it for Lubellion's effect and add it back during the end phase. Branded Opening, while not explicitly a Fallen of Albaz card, works extremely well with the Despia theme. You can discard a card, then take a Despia monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Also, for the rest of the turn, after it resolves, you can't special summon from the extra deck except for fusion monsters. And then if a fusion monster you can control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish it from your graveyard instead, and you can only use each effect of Branded Opening once per turn. In addition, the discard is an effect and not a cost. So effectively, you have no reason to not use this card at least 2 in your deck. In addition to the Adventure Engine, Branded Opening allows you to use Alubear's effect as well as your Adventure Engine. Guardian Chimera is one of the secret rares from Battle of Chaos. It requires 3 monsters with different names, must be fusion summoned using only fusion materials from your hand and field with at least 1 from each, meaning you cannot use 3 monsters on the field or 3 monsters in the hand. You must use a mix. If it's fusion summoned by a spell card or effect, you can draw cards equal to the number of cards used as material from the hand, and if you do destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards used for the material from the field, and you can only use that effect once per turn. While Polymerization is in your graveyard, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. This acts as fantastic interruption during your opponent's turn by using the card Branded in Red. The Despia build of Albaz is by far the most consistent and has the highest mid-range and combo ceilings. Utilizing Alubear as the normal summon, Despia Albaz can overwhelm the opponent with powerful plays and massive advantage generation. While combos are theoretically lower, Adventure Albaz, or Adventure Baz, excels at breaking through boards, through Dracoback, which forces Mirror Jade and Guardian Chimera, going second while establishing much needed negation. I think this will be the best version of the deck because of its ability to set up a negate before activating Branded Fusion. It should be noted that recent developments in the OCG caused a few Neos variants of Albas to spring out of the woodwork, fusing Elemental Hero Neos and Destiny Hero Plasma into Elemental Hero Brave Neos, while giving players the option to summon Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer as well. Going second, Rainbow Neos can be summoned to clear a board of either monsters or back row by siding in a Rainbow Dragon or the Light Hex-Sealed Fusion. Next, the Predaplant build gives access to powerful monster effects such as Dragostapelia and Orpheus Scorpio. This build, however, isn't playable until Dimension Force when the new Predaplant cards release. Finally, the pure version function as a solid mid-range deck, opting to either trade 1 for 1, 1 for 2, or gaining 2 cards off one copy of Frightful Patchwork. Tech cards like Capshell and Edge Imp Chain add a card to the hand if used from the hand or field as fusion material. While safer by making lower commitment plays, the +1 Albaz version initially appears to be the weakest of the bunch for now. Let's go and take a look at some replays of the deck using minimal investment cards. Keep in mind that per the Master Rule 2020 revisions, Mirror Jade can't activate its Regeki-like effect if it's sent back to the extra deck from an effect like Compulsory Evacuation Device or banished face down. As seen in the replays, remember that Fateful Adventure can trigger Despian Tragedy, as Fateful Adventure discards as a card effect and not as a cost. When using Lubellion's effect, you can chain Despian Comedy, tributing Lubellion, and then specialing Despian Comedy, shuffling Lubellion and Fallen of Albaz back into the extra deck to summon Mirror Jade. This nets you an additional body for absolutely no real cost. Remember that Branded in Red can summon any level 8 or higher fusion monster if you happen to be unfortunate and draw Destiny Hero Celestial and Destiny Hero Dasher. You can summon Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer off Branded in Red. You don't have to use the monster you targeted from Branded in Red as a fusion material. Remember that the minor Albaz fusions such as Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon and Titaniclad can summon Fallen of Albaz from your deck during the end phase. You can use this to use Albaz's effect in order to fusion summon during your opponent's end phase after using Mirror Jade. Alternatively, you can also add or summon Springin's Kit or Tri-Brigade Mercurier. Remember to use Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer to send your own fusions such as Albion the Branded Dragon in order to trigger Albion the Branded Dragon during the end phase. This allows you to also trigger Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous's effect during the end phase to add it back to the hand. Reminder that it is a mandatory add back if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard during the end phase in the TCG. In conclusion, if you like the edgier art, Albaz storyline, or playstyle of stringing fusion plays together, I highly recommend trying the deck out online before purchasing. Once Dimension Force comes to the TCG, we'll make a huge update for Albaz variants. By then, a new ban list should be out, further changing the game. Be sure to look out for more videos on the current builds of the deck, as we'll show how to think competitively and strategically with Albaz. I hope you learned something from this guide, whether it be the key cards or interesting text to come up in your matches. Thank you so much for watching.